decisions. I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Zion City Council to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Here.
Commissioner Deteen?
Here.
Commissioner McKinney? Commissioner Taylor?
Here.
Mayor Hill?
Here. Commissioner McDowell?
Pastor Doug Carlson was going to come and open our meeting with prayer, but he wasn't able to come, so I'd be happy to do that. I just want to thank you for giving us opportunity to talk about the important issues in the city. And Lord, we know that you are the one who builds cities. We pray, Lord, that you would help us to work together for rebuilding and restoring Zion. We pray, Father, that you would give us wisdom tonight. Father, we also just want to pause and remember those families that are suffering loss in Paris and other places around the world as a result of terrorist attacks. And Father, we pray that you would provide the kind of peace and comfort that only you can bring to situations of terror and chaos. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 4 is agenda changes. Are there any agenda changes? Is there a motion to accept the agenda as presented?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Your discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item number 5 is the citizens' comments. We have 2 requests to speak tonight. The first is Mr. Bremner from Zion, Illinois.
Mayor Hill, honorable sirs, gentle ladies, I have good news and bad news. I bring to your attention 2 articles, one from Sunday, November 8, Chicago Tribune. The good news, an endangered bird, a piping plover, and 3 federally endangered chicks were hatched at the Illinois Beach State Park in Zion this summer and have survived and will probably be returned. The second, the bad news, this last Sunday, 2 days ago, the Tribune did a detailed examination of the Chicago real estate tax increase, which was recently passed, and then compared Chicago rates to the 6-county metropolitan area. The 5 highest suburban towns in terms of percentage of taxation, and they took everything into effect and equalized it all out so that they're comparing apples to apples. Zion has the 4th highest tax rate in the metropolitan area at 7.1%. Ford Heights, Riverdale, Park Forest charge more. With your permission, I'll approach and give these to the mayor.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
I do thank you for your time, your courtesy, and your attention to these matters.
Thank you, Mr. Bremner. Dan Kocher from Chicago.
Good evening. I'm going to set my timer here. It would help me to be more efficient with my time if I could just ask, have all the commissioners read the letter that I sent out just yesterday morning? Okay, then I will collapse this a bit. I realize, I'm talking about the proposed inspection fees. I realize that by reducing the fee from $100 to $75, eliminating the inspection on turnover, and also allowing for a 24-month waiver, that you have moved substantially from your initial proposal. But once again, as the single largest landlord in the city of Zion by far, with 543 units, and the one who stands to shoulder between 10 and 20% of the total cost of your program, I have to say, with all due respect, that up until now, you've done very little to alleviate the disproportionate burden that you are imposing on owners of large apartment complexes like myself versus single-family homes. And specifically, you know, the cost to inspect a single-family home are far greater than the cost to inspect a 700-square-foot, one-bedroom apartment. You have multiple bedrooms, multiple bathrooms, basements, building systems. Every other municipality that has devised an inspection fee schedule has recognized this and addressed it. Waukegan gave great thought to this matter and did solve it. I won't get into the specifics of their program. It was on the chart that I gave you, but it attempts to address this disproportionate, the different costs to inspect a single-family home versus a small apartment complex, a small apartment in a large apartment complex, which now, I guess there are very, very few apartment complexes in Zion with more than 100 units. There are none, as far as I know, besides mine, with more than 200 units. There are very few apartment complexes between 100 and 200 units. You could probably count them on one hand. And what I'm asking for specifically tonight is I have a specific proposal, and I respectfully ask that one of the commissioners introduce that as a motion to amend the ordinance to address this imbalance and the tremendous burden that it's going to place on me and other large apartment complex owners, to the extent that there are any, in the city of Zion. And specifically, that proposal is to $75 a fee is fine. I understand that you want to vote and pass and move on with the ordinance that you've written. And rather than completely rewrite it, which in another way, which would take time, there's a very simple solution that I proposed in my letter, and that is a cap on the total fees that could be charged to essentially cap it at $10,000, which is anything above 133 units would pay no more than $10,000 for the inspection. This addresses the ease and efficiency with which you can inspect small apartments in a large apartment complex, and would go to great lengths to even out the cost burden that I'm going to be forced to bear under the proposal as it currently stands, or as the ordinance as it currently stands. So I'm asking tonight that I'm hoping tonight that one of the commissioners would introduce this small change to the ordinance that would go very, very far to evening out this imbalance. Thank you very much.
And that was $10,000 on apartments that have how many units?
Well, if it's $75 a unit and the cap is $10,000, what that means is that any apartment complex in excess of 133 units would pay no more than $10,000. That
Okay.
133 units effectively becomes the size where that cap comes into effect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 6 is the consent agenda. Clerk, please read the consent agenda.
Approval of minutes of a regular meeting held on November 3rd, 2015 at 7 p.m. Approval but not release of closed session minutes of a meeting held on November 3rd, 2015 at 7:55 p.m. and a special meeting held November 4th, 2015 at 4 p.m. Bills, vouchers 122112 through 122199 drawn on First Merit Bank for a total of $1,348,361.22.
Move that we approve the consent agenda.
Have a motion? Is there a second?
Second. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item number 7 is consider passing resolutions as follows. 7A is the Truth in Taxation Law Resolution for Director Nabel.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. We are required annually to pass a resolution with an estimate of tax levy. This is not the actual passing of the levy. We will be doing that in December, but prior to that, we're required to actually publish this, or to pass a resolution showing what the exposure on the levy is. What I did is, in Truth in Taxation, it basically says if you're going over 5% increase on an annual basis, you have to go through public hearings and all kinds of stuff, and we're just saying in this that we're not going over that 5%. I put it at a 4.99% to show what the maximum exposure is. The levy can actually go up by the lesser of 5% or consumer price index. Currently, that amount is 0.8%. So even though this resolution is showing this was put together prior to the CPI that's going to be being put together, so realistically, we're probably, once you take into account new construction, things of that nature, we might be looking at only a 1% increase, but we'll discuss that when we actually go to the levy. But we need to get something passed showing what the maximum exposure was and that it's not over the 5% that's required by law for additional meetings and hearings.
Move that we approve the Truth in Taxation resolution as presented.
A motion? Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion? I just want to be sure that everybody realizes this is not our levy.
It's not the levy.
This
Yeah.
is not a levy. This is a hoop that the state requires local taxing bodies to jump through very, very early in the process, long before we know what our levy is going to be. But if you would perhaps know that your levy is going to be above 5%, you have to publish. So this will at least eliminate our requirement to publish and eliminate the expense that goes along with it. So we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item 7B is approving and authorizing execution of an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Zion and Zion Firefighters Pension Fund for Director Nabel.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Per previous contractual agreement with the Fire Pension Fund, we had a final payment due to the pension fund of $223,886 that was going to come due April of 2016 during this current fiscal year. During our budget discussions, due to our budget deficit and shortfalls, we approached the pension board to see if they would be amenable to deferring that payment one more year, basically pushing that off. In exchange, we would continue to pay the interest rate on that amount during the current fiscal year. This agreement basically is saying instead of the $223,000 to be paid before April 2016, we will pay $12,424 of interest, with the final payment now to be made in April 2017.
It's for a total payment of $236,311.28. And there's a reference on here to Exhibit A.
I believe that might have actually been the initial amortization schedule that might not be included here. Oh, that's the original.
The intergovernmental
Right.
agreement is attached to
But there's no Exhibit A.
the intergovernmental.
I mean, there's an Exhibit A, but there's nothing.
There's Exhibit A, but there's nothing there.
I believe the intergovernmental agreement is the Exhibit A. It says the intergovernmental agreement attached here to is Exhibit A. This is the intergovernmental agreement behind that Exhibit A page.
All right, I'm just reading, and I suppose I'm nitpicking. It says Zion has paid 3 of the 4 yearly dollar amounts owed in full and on time pursuant to the previously agreed to schedule contained in Exhibit A.
Okay, so that might be the original agreement that was passed that needs to be included.
So we don't need, okay. All right.
David, did you also defer a payment to the fire pension fund in addition to this, or is this the only?
No, the fire pension will be following at a future. We basically had the same terms with them, a 4-year repayment. Theirs, I think, is somewhere around $282,000 that we were able to get the agreement between the fire pension attorneys and our attorneys for the fire pension addressed first. We wanted to get this presented and then use the same template, the same form for the fire pension for their amount as well. So as long as we get them approved before the payment comes due in 2016, we'll get them both resolved, but we just at least wanted to get it.
Okay, so
Get it done.
the other one is for 250,000?
282, I believe, but I have to look exactly, but I believe it was 282,000.
Do you have a motion? Is there a motion? A motion
Second.
and a second. Is there further discussion?
In section 7, the language here, aren't we required to levy this amount anyway? And Zion agrees that it will annually levy the amount provided in this actuarial study performed by a qualified actuary employed by the Illinois Department of Insurance. But aren't we required to levy the amount for pensions anyway? And
Correct.
just kind of repeating it?
It's redundant language versus what we're statutorily required to do, but.
Further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item 7C is terminating the intergovernmental agreement that created the Lake and McHenry County's Fire Department Specialized Response Teams, SRT, per Chief Lewis.
Thank you, Your Honor. Back in 1996, an intergovernmental agreement was established between through Mavis between Divisions 4 and 5, which is Lake County and McHenry County, establishing what is known today as the Lake and McHenry County Specialized Response Team. That team's made up of different areas of specialties such as confined space, dive, high angle, water rescue, hazardous materials, trench rescue, structural collapse, so on and so forth. So that each department in those counties didn't have to have its full complement of responders. We would share responders with 1 or 2, 3, depending on what departments had. They would all respond to the scene. Changes within the Mavis model have now created a need for a governance change. And effective January 1st of 2016, the organization will now be split up into Mavis Divisions 4 and 5 again, and the SRT governance will go away. Through Mavis and through the Lake and McHenry County SRTs, they've developed several resolutions that are attached in your pocket, or in your packet, I'm sorry, not your pocket, your packet. Resolution 2015-3 basically dissolves the current SRT organization as of December 31st, 2015 by terminating the intergovernmental agreement that originally created in 1996. It was recommended by the attorneys for the SRT that each agency involved develop their own resolution, thus accepting the dissolution of the intergovernmental agreement. And that's what you have before you. In a nutshell.
In a nutshell. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve this resolution to terminate the intergovernmental agreement.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion?
And now I've got a couple questions. So, the assets of the current SRT is going to be going to Mavis Divisions 4 and 5.
Correct.
Except $150,000, and where does that go exactly?
That will stay with the SRT governance.
What does that mean?
The SRT governance is going to be an oversight on Mavis 4 and 5. What happens is you still have team members responding from Division 4 and Division 5. So from a street level perspective, everything stays the same. So the $150,000 stays with the SRT governance for any lawsuits, any training, any pending legal, anything that has to do with the governance itself.
Okay. And who oversees oversees that?
That will be the SRT Governance Board. So the SRT Governance Board will be made up of fire chiefs from Lake and McHenry County. So right now, there's an SRT Administrative Coordinator. She's basically the oversight for the operations of the teams. Over her will be the SRT Governance Board, made up of 3 chiefs from Lake and McHenry County, which will act much like City Council does, and oversees and approves all the operations, oversees the spending of money, oversees grants, funding, those kind of things.
Do they report to any particular municipality?
No,
Who does their accounting?
they do their own accounting. They're their own entity. So they're their own entity, which was formed many years ago, and so part of their entity is they have an audit every year by an independent board. They go through their books and they do an audit. Much like they're kind of like an association. We have the Lake County Fire Chiefs Association, which has its own independent board made up of fire chiefs throughout Lake County, and then yearly we have an audit of our books to make sure that our treasuries are all nice and fine.
Okay, thanks.
Is there further discussion? We have a motion and a second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item 8 is consider passing ordinances as follows. 8A is amend Zion Municipal Code, Section 10-180, parentheses, rental housing inspection and certification regulations, parentheses, per Director Ianson.
Thank you, Your Honor, Commissioners. As we discussed at the November 13th City Council meeting, these amendments to this ordinance address some of the concerns of the rental property owners. Some of the main concerns were the fee, which we addressed at 100, reduced it to 75. The amount of inspections, if a tenant moves out, it doesn't require inspection within that same year for certification. An incentive, if they pass the inspection the first year, we give them a 24-month certificate. So staff is recommending we amend these ordinances and move forward with the program.
Is there a motion?
Do you want to do the motion first, or do you want me to ask questions first?
What do you want to do first?
I want to ask questions first.
Ask questions first.
Okay, well, at that special city council meeting, I asked if there would be some differentiation between multi-unit apartment buildings and single-family homes that are rented out. And I don't see anything in this ordinance that indicates that that's been addressed.
Are you requiring the inspection checklist or the fees?
Fee structure, yeah, inspection checklist, I do have this.
Yeah, that's the revised checklist.
Okay.
It's life safety concerns only.
Is this for single family or for,
The list of single-family, if you look all the way to the right, addressed apartment complexes, which includes the list, but spells out the difference in inspections.
okay, so that column is in addition to what a single-family home would be?
That's correct.
And are these the only things that are going to be inspected then?
For the certification, yes.
I do have another question. So if we have a home, single-family home that's being rented out, it's been divided into multi-units, you've got upstairs, downstairs, maybe a basement or something like that. The roof has a leak in it, doesn't pass inspection because of the roof. Which of those units is going to get flagged that doesn't pass the inspection because of the roof?
Well, we address the roof on their property maintenance. It depends how serious it is. I mean, if it's collapsing throughout the house, we're gonna post the whole building. But if it's just a leak that needs to be repaired, we'll give them time to repair that. It won't tie into the certification.
So one part of the building that doesn't pass, then all the units in that building don't pass?
Depending on the severity. I mean, it would have to be pretty serious for us to post the whole building.
All right. So like a multi-unit apartment complex, if there's something wrong with an exterior wall on the east side of a 100-unit apartment complex, the unit on the west side may or may not be affected by that?
Well, if it does, no, if the wall is affecting the unit that attaches to it, yes, we would have to address that particular unit. but not the one on the west side, no.
It's my understanding that anytime we're talking about multifamily units, we are talking about individual living units. So that if there's a 6-unit apartment complex and 1 unit is bad, there's only 1 bad unit. The other 5 pass, or they will get their certification.
Okay.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
Mr. Kocher suggested that we make an amendment to the ordinance to add a cap. I guess I just wonder what any of the other commissioners think about that. Or Mayor Hill.
Well, I've become quite good friends with Mr. Kocher. We've spent a lot of hours together in the last 3 or 4 days, and we've had some rather in-depth discussions about the larger units. And his suggestion tonight on the $10,000 max, the best that we can figure right now is it would leave us short somewhere in the neighborhood of $30,000. We have a truck in the budget for this program that was going to be paid for by the proceeds from the inspection certification. And after talking with a couple of the department heads, we've agreed that we'll get along without a truck. And that I think it's a reasonable request, and I think based on that request, this program will still pay for itself. I mean, he's gonna have to come up with, he's still gonna be paying a significant amount of money. And he's, for those of, while he was at the microphone, I was watching the audience, and I saw people like raising their eyebrows when he said they own 500 units. This is Horizon Village and Woodstone combined. They're managing both facilities, so it's 538 units.
543.
So I think that the $10,000 is a reasonable cap, because I mean it's like he's pointed out, and I think a couple of the commissioners have pointed out. I think we're anticipating that the inspectors, when they're in the program and they're doing looking for building codes, exterior and interior, that they'll probably be able to do about 5 inspections per day. And we think that we'll be able to do significantly more when we're in a large unit like this. You can knock them off pretty quick because they're small and they're pretty much the same, and there's not a lot of different things to look at. And our program, correct me if I'm wrong, cannot make money. This is not a money-making program. Because we're non-home rule, all we can do is pay for the program, reasonable costs associated with the program, because this is a certification, not a license. I think licenses, you can make money. Certification programs, you can't. So the intent here is that we will cover our costs. And I think that that's a reasonable compromise, and also it will allow us to cover our costs.
Does that proposal need to be researched at all, or are you fairly confident that it's approximately a $30,000 reduction in income for the program?
I'm pretty confident.
And how did we arrive at the 133 units?
We basically got to 133 units because I think I wanted $10,000 minimum. So it's 130, 75 times 100, 75 times 133 is $10,000. We've kind of cut his, and we have taken steps. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I
Keep asking
just
that.
want to know
Yeah.
why not 135 or why not 100?
$10,000.
Math. Okay.
That was kind of his compromise.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve this ordinance with the amendment that we cap units greater than 133 units with a $10,000 fee.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Is there discussion? There are a couple of things that I would like to say, that in putting this together, putting the final touches on this, we did listen to people. I know, I can tell by facial expressions that people aren't happy. But we listened to the realtors, they sent us a letter, and we responded to the letter. And many of you have received, I think, a letter from them today, and some of the things that they are saying in this letter are absolutely not true. And I can go over the letter here if you want to take that time, or if you would like to meet with me afterwards, I will go through this and explain that many of these things are simply not true. But what we did do, we did reduce the fee. The original fee was $100, and the discussion at the public meeting that we had asked that fee be reduced, and there was also a request that there be a incentive program applied to it also. So what we've said is it will be a $75 fee the first time that the unit is inspected, and if it receives certification, it won't be re-inspected until 24 months later. So that has effectively lowered that fee to $37.50 per year. And I think that's reasonable. We've revised the inspection checklist as was explained a minute ago, and we've extended the compliance period that if something is wrong on the property, that there's a longer length of time with which to correct them. And then the $10,000 cap for the large apartment complex. I'm assuming, was that in your motion? Okay. I'm trying to think what else.
Changes in the ordinance?
Yeah, the changes are,
Oh, you know what, one thing that I noticed is that, did we intend on page 4, section 4C, did we intend that to be 180 days, not 120 days?
The 180 days has
All
been
right, so
corrected,
then-
yes.
I think I would have to amend my motion then, because it says 120 here, not 180.
We amended that back in August. It's not reflected in what you have there, but it has been amended.
Okay, it already has been amended,
Yes.
it's just the error in this,
Correct.
okay.
we have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item number 8B is amend Zion Municipal Code, Chapter 10, Building and Building Regulations, Article 1, in general, Section 10-9C, Certificate of Occupancy, Miscellaneous Inspections, per Director Ianson.
That's the fee we were just discussing, reduced from 100 to 75, and now with the amendment cap on the multiple units.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion? And a second? Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item 8D, establishing rates for water and sewer services per Director Nabel.
We have an 8C.
Skip me.
8C?
8-6.
8C, adopting by reference the Lake County Watershed Development Ordinance per Director Colangelo.
Excuse me. Thank you, Your Honor. In your packet, you have the ordinance adopted by reference Lake County Watershed Development Ordinance. What the Lake County Board did is on October 13th, they made a few amendments to the WDO of Lake County, so that requires the city to adopt it as well. That ensures them that the municipality is adopting the most current form of the Watershed Development Ordinance. Every time they make a change, we have to adopt it again.
I've read this and I can't find anything that is,
Well, the only thing they changed is as determined by an enforcement officer, and then they've taken out, that's in section A, and then in section A3, they've just removed that have received a watershed development permit or meet the criteria of Article 4A2A. That's the only changes, right?
Yeah, they're pretty minor. What they did is they put an appeals process in if somebody was ever to be denied a permit. And also, because you don't want to have the whole 200-page thing in front of you, if they update a FEMA map, then the new FEMA map is in the new ordinance as well, things of that nature.
is this gonna have any major impact on any development around here?
It should not at all. And actually, we don't have a choice either.
I just wanna know if it have any
No, it should not.
impact. Have a motion
Second?
and a second. Further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item 8D, establishing rates for water and sewer services per Director Nabel.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. As you're probably well aware, back when we had Lake County Public Water District come and present the capital needs for repairs on a water pipe, requiring a significant bond issue on their part, which they did go forward with and close on. We said that there was going to be a impact on the rate charged to us for the debt service. Additionally, their annual rate increase came through in August of this year, both which required us to revisit our water rates. The last time they were changed was in 2013, and actually they weren't changed for 10 years prior to that. So as a result of the impact of the bonds as well as the regular water rate increase, I am recommending that we change the water rate per 1,000 gallons. This would be effective January 1st, 2016, so it'll be the first billing in January, to $5.60 per 1,000 gallons, and then the sewer rate to $1.90 per 1,000 gallons. There's some other changes in here that also talk about water supplied outside of corporate limits. The rates for residential and commercial are both the same, so this just reflects that change across both of those. I also included in your packet a nice 12-page survey from the IDNR on water rates throughout. It's a Lake Michigan water rate survey showing that the average rate for 2015 was $7.97 just for water. We're actually below that for water and sewer combined. We're still below the average, even with the current rate. So that'd be my recommendation, to make sure that we meet all debt service requirements and that we're solvent within the water and sewer fund.
We have 6.3 million in the water fund right now.
No.
How much?
We have, in cash, we have $6 million, but a lot of that's capital assets, water infrastructure, things of that nature. We probably have about $1 million in cash, liquid cash in the water fund, of which budgetarily $600,000 was committed to help with the deficit in the current fiscal year.
So that 6 million is not in cash. What is it then?
It's primarily capital assets. It's the value of
Oh, I see.
water mains, net of depreciation, the plant, all the assets of the water fund. There's also some accounts receivable out there that we bill, and probably a couple $100,000 there. When you look at the total assets, the majority of that is capital assets.
Our waste collection fund actually has a deficit, is that correct?
The waste collection fund, it currently has a fund deficit that's been funded due to rate decrease, or not changing the rate in the past. We addressed that with the increase also in 2013 of the the waste rates, so that's showing an annual net income, which is digging the fund out of its deficit over time. But we're not touching the waste rates with this.
Ron, we had a audit of the waste fund a few years ago, is that correct?
The waste fund is audited annually as part of the city's.
No, I don't mean an audit by an auditor. I mean, didn't we drive around, we have some of our employees drive around with representatives from the waste haulers, being sure that they were picking up for what we were paying them to pick up?
Yeah, we were reconciling their number of units that they were billing us for with the number that we were billing for to get that resolved.
Right.
That was probably 4 years ago.
And it has been resolved, and do we need to be sure that it is still resolved?
We update them on a quarterly basis with our billing records to say new additions, new service, or removal of service, so that they can adjust their billing to us on an ongoing basis.
Oh, great, okay.
What's the consequence, David, of not raising these rates?
We would not meet our debt service requirements for the bonds. We're required to have a certain coverage ratio. Additionally, we would be running a deficit then in the water fund, that if we have water main breaks, if we have any sort of, we basically just lose money. We're billed by the Lake County Public Water District for water used, and if we don't recover that, we're covering that through other funds.
Okay, so, and part of that increase is the repair of the pipes out in Lake Michigan?
A significant portion of that is the bond debt service
All right.
from the Lake County Public Water District for that.
I think this also begs the question, Ron, I know you've mentioned it a number of times in staff, that we have loss of water.
Yes.
That we're paying for, and I believe your monthly report indicated that we've gone through and we're looking at $25,000 is what we had thought that.
The found leaks, that's correct. Those are the ones that were found. It does not address the entire issue of what's being sold what's being delivered to us and what we are selling. That's still a significant loss amount, which we're gonna have to address with the Lake County Water District.
Can you explain how the process that we go through for determining how much we pay as a lump sum? For water?
Basically what there is a master meter that leaves the water district plant. It's delivering what's called finished water out to the public. As it branches off to the state parks and to Winthrop Harbor and to the marina, there's 5 other meters that deliver to those entities. What they do is they take the readings of those, because that's the entry point going somewhere outside of Zion, they subtract it from the master meter coming out of the plant. Everything else then belongs to Zion at that point. That's where we have the discrepancy of water loss that, frankly, I don't agree with. And we're gonna have to address it with them. We don't know if it's an anomaly or what it is, but it has to be corrected, without question. Because our metering system that we're going through town putting in now is reading on a daily basis. And we also have an average on the other system that still has life on it. And our numbers are fluctuating, and what we are seeing is we're seeing drastic changes from one day to another, because we can now read daily. And I just don't see how that's happening. And they're gonna have to explain it to the city on how you can have a 25% increase in water usage from one day to the next day, because people's behavior patterns don't change. You know, it's not like all of a sudden everyone woke up in the city and decided to use 25% more water on a particular day. Normally that stays the same. You know, people's behavior patterns, getting to go to work, take a shower, whatever, and things of that nature. So we think there's got to be maybe some type of system reading that's incorrect. Because we've already done the leak survey throughout the entire city, and what we found was very minimal. And they went through the entire city.
Have we set up a meeting with them, with the water district?
Well, we're supposed to meet quarterly at, the TAC committee's supposed to meet quarterly, and that's when I was gonna bring it up to them. And can I add one more thing on this thing, so that everyone here knows? We had the water district come here and make a presentation, so everybody would know what was going on. And at that time, we requested, the council requested that they try to phase this project in smaller sections, so it wouldn't be such a big hit all at one time. And we also went to their regular scheduled meeting. We made the same request on behalf of the city at their meeting as well, in front of their board of trustees, and they still went forward with their plan.
And this is our plan.
And from a technical standpoint, it needs to be done, because you could potentially lose that intake pipe, and then nobody has any water to drink anywhere.
Have they started work on that? Chris?
We are going to be starting the bidding process for the installing the vent system, which will start next year.
Oh, that's starting next year?
Well, we've reached the end of the season.
Okay.
Weather-wise, our contractor can't do anything more at this time. So, but we're setting up the bid process to start installing the vents that we're paying for with the bond.
And for those people that don't know, this is Chris Fisher. He's a member of the Lake County. Is there a motion?
Move that we accept this ordinance to establish rates for the water and sewer service.
So move.
Have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye.
Not
Item
necessarily happy about it, but
I'm not happy about it either. Item 9 is discussion, authorization, and approval. 9A is considered zoning docket 15Z-10, requesting a variance from the Zion Municipal Code, Section 102-206B2, to use the property located at 2621 Elam Avenue as a single-family residence, as petitioned by Terry Upton, per Director Ianson. Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval.
Thank you, Your Honor, Commissioners. Mr. Terry Upton is seeking a variance from Section 102-206B2 to use the property located at 2621 Elam, also known as 1022 27th Street, as a single-family residence. This property is currently zoned central business with a commercial building along with a single-family residence. The single-family residence was a legal non-conforming, before becoming vacant in 2009. The single-family residence is not permitted in the central business district. Since 2012, Mr. Upton has had no success converting a single family into a business use. He's requesting to use the 2621 Elam address as a single family use once again. At the November 5th, 2015 Planning and Zoning meeting, the board recommended approval with a 4-3 vote.
the back wall of this home is shared with the commercial property.
It's not attached, but
It's not attached.
it's not attached. Yeah, it looks like that, but it's not attached. There's no entry between the two buildings. It's not attached.
I know when Stevenson's printing was there, he just walked right through that. He must have had a little doorway there, because he would go right through it and.
It must have been blocked up over time.
Okay.
Since I've been through it, it's not attached.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? We have a second. A motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item 9B is considered zoning dockets 15Z-11, requesting a variance from the Zion Municipal Code, Section 102-202 to install a driveway in the front yard of 2621 Elam, also known as 1022 27th Street, as petitioned by Terry Upton, per Director Ianson. Planning and Zoning recommends approval.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Terry Upton is seeking a variance from section 102-2022 to install a driveway in the front yard of 2621 Elam, also known as 1022 27th Street. Currently, the building layout forbids any parking in the rear of the single-family residence. His other option would to use the yearly permit parking in the city lot across the street from the residence. At the November 5th, 2015 Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval with a 5-2 vote.
So moved.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. Is there discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item 9C is consider zoning docket 15Z12, requesting a special use permit to operate a cosmetology school within a hair salon located at 2689 Sheridan Road, as petitioned by Brent Griffin for Director Ianson. Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval with conditions.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Griffin is currently operating a hair salon located at 2689 Sheridan Road. He is seeking a special use permit to operate a cosmetology school within the hair salon. The school will provide the state of Illinois mandated curriculum and educate 10 to 15 students per 18-month sessions. At the November 5th, 2015 Planning and Zoning Meeting Board recommended approval with conditions that Mr. Griffin must meet all the building and fire department requirements.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. Is there discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Is Mr. Griffin here?
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for coming into our community and starting your business here. Appreciate it.
We're glad to be here, and thank you for the honor to be here.
Thanks. Item 9D is tabulation of bids, cleaning and maintenance services for City Hall, Police Administration, and Public Works by Director Ianson.
Thank you, Your Honor. The city received 10 bidders for the cleaning and maintenance service for City Hall, Police Administration, and Public Works. Only 4 of the 10 were responsive bids, and they're attached. The lowest responsible bidder were Eco Clean Maintenance for annual bid of $36,408 with an alternate bid of $27,073. I didn't put a recommendation on there because at the time I haven't heard back from the references. I since have talked to the references and everything's come back positive. So staff is recommending that we go with the alternate bid of $27,073 for a savings of $18,527 a year.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
A motion
Second.
and a second. Discussion?
And so you've calculated out the cost of hiring someone.
Yeah, we looked at that and it looked like it was still a bit more beneficial to go with a contractor.
And what are we paying currently for this service?
$45,600
And you're making a recommendation to the alternate bid?
for the alternate bid, that's correct.
Right, just so everybody understand, there was a great deal of discussion among the department heads. We're cutting back on the cleaning. We're not gonna have things in every day. People are gonna be, until we run into union problems. People are gonna be vacuuming their own floors and cleaning up their kitchens a little bit and taking on a lot more responsibility for cleaning City Hall, the police department, and public works department. And that's why we put the alternate bid out there is to get a price, so. We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item 9E, consider TIF TIF 1 grant for LDJ Enterprises, Zion LLC, for build-out assistance at 2636 Sheridan Road for the Hive Video Gaming Cafe for Director Nabel.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. LDJ Investments is seeking assistance in the amount of $48,816.67 from TIF 1 for carpentry, electrical, and plumbing work, and installation of steel fire doors and outdoor signage to open a video gaming cafe at 2636 Sheridan Road. The TIF board recommended unanimous approval at their meeting last night.
Is there a motion? So moved. A motion? And a second. Is there discussion? I've got a question. And it's the,
Come on.
you make them up.
Sorry, I have a bit of a cold, so I can't speak very loudly.
I've got a question on the amount. Looking through your bid proposals from the contractors, if I understand this correctly, there's a quote for $32,200, there's a quote for $34,700, and there's a quote for $79,500, and the approval was for $48,000.
Correct. We did it a little different than you guys asked. We went a little above and beyond, actually. The TIF board asks for 3 quotations. We asked 3 general contractors to get 3 quotations. So we physically had 9 quotations on every single item that needed to be done. Out of those, as you can see, the range was huge. We'll say that our contractor A couldn't meet the plumbing requirements and the electrical requirements within our time period. Where C, who was the most expensive, he could do the plumbing and the electrical, but he couldn't do the carpentry work. So when we met with economic development, we discussed how things were set out and who could do what and when and where, based on our timelines, based on the things that needed to be done per code. We averaged the pricing out, whereas not to exceed a dollar amount, rather than going with the highest bid, which we knew we could get all the contractors in. We didn't want to go with the highest bid when we knew we could use some of the lower bids and save the taxpayers dollars. So.
Okay, and your timeline is March?
March, and that is because
Because of us?
well, and also because we met with the person to lease the building, and we thought it'd be better for us because we plan on staying. We've actually purchased the building. So we purchased the building, and so that put us back a little bit because he wasn't ready to close when we were. So that did set us back a little bit on the timeline.
So yes.
So you're
We own.
you're a proud property owner.
We are
We
proud
are.
property owners, here to stay.
Glad to hear that. Are there any questions? We have a motion and a second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen?
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Item 9F is consider TIF 1 grant for OES Air Academy for build-out assistance at 2689 Sheridan Road for the cosmetology school per Director Nabel.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Mr. Griffin of OES Hair Studio seeking assistance for the construction of ADA-compliant restroom, installation of steel door, and architectural drawings to open their school located at 2689 in an amount not to exceed $11,600. That was also approved unanimously by the TIF board.
Is there a motion? We have a motion
Second?
and a second. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Deteen? Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
Mayor Hill?
Aye. Item number 10 is departmental commentary.
I have something if you permit, I'd like to read something in reference to a case that we had this past month. It pertains to the involvement of citizens and citizens getting involved, and how important that is to the police department, how important that is to the safety of our community. The Zion Police Department responded to a citizen complaint of a suspicious vehicle parked in an alley in the 1800 block of Carmel Boulevard at 4:30 p.m. on October 27th, 2015. As squads pulled up, the male passenger exited the vehicle and took off running. The subject refused to stop for officers, and a taser was used to take him into custody. During the arrest, a 9mm handgun was recovered from the subject that he had dropped. It was a high-point semi-automatic handgun. The subject was also in possession of an additional loaded magazine for the gun. He was transported to the Zion Police Department, and officers located crack cocaine on him, packaged to sell. Zion police officers maintained custody and control of the subject's apartment on Carmel Boulevard, while the drug and gang detectives obtained a search warrant. The search warrant was approved and signed by a judge, and officers conducted a search of the apartment at 9 p.m. on October 27th. Officers recovered approximately 50 grams of cannabis from the apartment. The subject, a convicted felon, was charged with obstructing a peace officer, violation of order of protection, unlawful possession of cannabis, unlawful possession of drug paraphernalia, and 3 counts of unlawful possession of a controlled substance, 2 counts of unlawful use of a weapon, unlawful possession of a firearm by a street gang member, and 3 counts of aggravated use of a weapon. He was also charged with defacing marks on a firearm and armed violence. He was taken before a judge the next day and was held on a $250,000 cash bond. This case would not have transpired, and the arrest would not have been made, and a armed gang member would not have been taken into custody if it wasn't for the actions of a citizen who saw a suspicious vehicle sitting in their alley and called it in. In addition, this summer, we arrested quite a few people in the process of committing burglaries in homes and outside of homes and in vehicles. Most of those arrests were because citizens got involved, they called the police, and assisted us in those cases. One case in particular, a young juvenile was home, his house was broken into. He barricaded himself in a closet while three young men came into the house to burglarize it, and he called the police and stayed on the line with the police department, and we were able to take all 3 of those subjects into custody. Point being is, we really stress community involvement. We know that we can't do this on our own, we can't do it without citizen involvement. And when citizens get involved, obviously we have thousands of more sets of eyes out there than just the few officers that are patrolling on the streets. One of the things that I did prior to this promotion was I ran the Neighborhood Watch group, and we stressed all the time when we went with Neighborhood Watch that when you see something suspicious or you have a feeling that something is not right, do not second guess your intuition and call the police. And in these cases, every single one of them, somebody got involved. And it makes a huge difference. Too often, we do go to residents, we take a burglary report, and we always case the neighborhood. When we do that, we canvass the neighborhood and talk to the residents surrounding the house that's burglarized. And too often we hear, you know, I saw a suspicious car, I saw a suspicious person, I didn't want to bother you, I second-guessed myself and I didn't call it in. So in this particular case, everybody getting involved has made a very big impact in our arrest rate in some of the cases that we've had this summer. So again, I'm just really urging citizens to call us when they see something that's out of place. They know their neighborhoods a lot better than we do, and they are, again, another set of eyes for us. So I want to thank the citizens that have gotten involved this past several months. It's made a big impact, and we encourage people to continue to do that. So you and I have had some discussions about citizen involvement, and it has improved, particularly this past summer.
I'd like to congratulate the police department too for the nice job that you're doing with these. But above and beyond that, I would really like to come in and thank the citizens for getting involved also, because it's exactly like you said, we can't do this by ourselves, and we need an involved citizenry to address a number of the problems that we have in town. Not just crime, but other issues also. But I think I think it would be great if there's something the city could do for citizens who do cooperate with the police, but I know often they don't want their names out in public or anything, so I'll obviously not go wild on that, but I think if there's something we can do, I think it would be great. And again, congratulate all your guys for a job well done on this. Because there have been a few of them. that I've read about where citizens have come forward with information, and you've made some significant
And citizens
arrests.
can always call in anonymously too. They don't need to give a name. The more information they give us when they do call in, the farther we can go with the case. So details are important. But again, it comes down to them taking the initiative to call the police. Like I said, we often hear we don't want to bother you. That could be no farther from the truth. That's our job. It's never a bother for us to respond to a citizen calling in. So.
And I mean, I agree with that 100%. And I often hear people say, well, everybody knows who did it, but nobody will come forward and say anything. And that's on the citizens that have witnessed it and won't come say anything. And I think we need to get that, encourage that more often. So, anyway. Item 11 is announcements. November 26th and 27th, the city offices will be closed for the Thanksgiving holiday. December 1st at 7 p.m., there'll be a Zion City Council meeting. December 15th, 6:30 p.m., a Zion Township Board meeting, and 7 p.m., a Zion City Council meeting. We have need for a closed session, a very short closed session, I do believe. I have a motion pursuant to 5 ILCS 122, open meetings for the discussion of personnel, and are we doing pending litigation? Pending litigation. The motion? And a second? Clerk, please call the roll.
I still have to be back. I think it's 10:30, 11:30.